Hi again. I decided to do a flex fuel conversion in my 2015 Yukon. I didn't know they existed, these flex fuel conversions, until about a week ago. Gas has gone up to $6 plus a gallon. I think I've seen it averaging $6.21 for premium and $5.99 for regular gas. I could not believe it. We don't drive this car anyways because it's not the greatest on gas, but I have an F-150 with E85 on it, and I love it because it's not the greatest on gas, but the fuel is very affordable. So I decided, let me see if there is a flex fuel conversion for the 5.3, and they do. It's for off-road use only for California drivers. Seeing that my car is off-road at the moment, we'll consider that off-road. So this is what you get in the kit. You get pretty stickers, you get a fuel line, you get the sensor for the ethanol. This is the computer that goes piggyback off your other computer so it doesn't interfere. It's a standalone. This is the connection to the positive, and then this is the negative for to the body. I just found out this is just a fuse, so you mount it to the firewall. This is the sensor, temperature sensor you put on top of the block somewhere where it gets warm, probably just underneath the intake. And pretty simple. These are just going to plug into the MAF, I believe is the map sensor, and it piggybacks back into this plug again. So this will plug into there, and this will plug into the original plug. So it's pretty simple. What I love about this Yukon, it has all these power ports coming out off the positive battery, so that'll be simple. The only thing I think is going to be a little bit of a bear is the fuel line. I hate messing with fuel lines, but the way it's drawn, it's showing it's on the firewall. The fuel rail is on top of the engine. I had disconnected this fuel rail at one time. I thought my injectors were bad, but they were fine. So I already know where that's connected. I'm not sure if that's the return line or the feed line, but we'll find out. But here we go. It's a pretty simple, looks like maybe a half hour to an hour of work, maybe 2 hours, you know, depending on the fuel line. I'm just gonna call it maybe half a day just for someone that's not too familiar with it. But you know, we're gonna go, I'm gonna try to do it step by step. I'll show you how I connected the fuel line. That'll be the most important, how I run the wiring harness. And then we're gonna start it up and see how it does. Well, let's get going on it. Next, I removed the fuel line. It was a bit hard, you know, those quick release ones. I took off the cover because I already had taken this apart one time, and it made it easier for me to get the clamp around here. Not necessarily will you need to. What I did, I went right back to the factory fuel line, and I just hooked it up to the sensor. So I didn't really have to cut any more lines or screw around with that. Next, I put the small little hose with the connectors provided with them. They give you plenty of different options to mount this. Some show it right here, but I wanted to hide it a little bit, and plus I didn't have to screw around too much. So what I'm gonna have it just sit on top underneath here. I'll figure a way to zip tie it or something up there, but there's no kinks in the line, and in the original, I mean the fuel line is not kinked either. So it's actually pretty good where it's sitting. I hooked up the harness to it, so I won't have to fight it so much running it through it. So next, the only thing I have to do is hook up the harness, which is pretty simple. Next, I'm gonna put the temperature sensor. I'm gonna put it underneath the manifold, which is kind of nice. I took that plastic thing off, which is totally unnecessary for you to take it off. Like I said, it was easier for me to remove the fuel line. You'll see, that's the most difficult part for me, was taking the fuel line off. So this will go underneath. I'll tuck it underneath. It doesn't seem to be need to be fastened to anything, but I'll shove it in there real nice so it won't move around. Next, I disconnected the MAF sensor, and this is the part that's going to go inside of it instead. So I have to plug this in. I got only one hand, so it's going to be a bit hard to put in, as you see. And then this one plugs back in here. So let me plug it in because I have trouble with just one hand. Okay. So you see that it's plugged in, pretty simple. I have to just zip tie it and hide it underneath so you won't even notice it. Next, this part will get mounted to the firewall, and then I'll use, this will be the positive that will go on. I got an extra nut to put on top of these, this part right here where all the positives come into the battery. So I basically just got an extra nut. I'm gonna put that on there next. Well, here it is all installed. The fuel line's installed. It's hard to see, but the hardest part was to disconnect that darn fuel line with those, what do you call, easy out fittings. Not very easy, I'm telling you. So there's where I mounted the fuse. I screwed it to the one of the braces. I put the ground to the brace. I basically zip tied the piggyback plug to behind here so you really can't see it. Also, the ECU for this system is just mounted on top of the battery. I put a riv nut and I just put a 1/4 inch bolt in there so it will, you know, hold in place. So if I ever need to take the battery, this will come off real easy. But it's pretty simple. So in the next phase, tomorrow morning, I'll put some gas in it when I get back from my dentist appointment, and we're gonna run it and see how well it runs. All right, checked everything, it's not leaking. I turned on the car, it's only a 9%, 10% ethanol, which I think is accurate for the unleaded content of California. This gas is a bit old. Been probably about 8-9 months since I've driven this car at all. So I charged the battery last night. Runs really good, so I don't think it has any problems. So the next step is just gonna go get some E85 just down the street and fill her up and see what it does. Now I'm putting E87 in. It's gone up a little bit because the price of gas is kind of high. It's at $6.49 for diesel, $5.29 for regular, so it came down a little bit here in California, but still ridiculous. Alrighty, I'm started the car up since I put the gas in. Hasn't changed. It'll probably take a little bit. I'll drive home and see what happens. Just for a couple miles, it went up to 30% ethanol, 31%. So I'm almost home, probably another 5 miles, and then we'll see how well it idles. I've just made it home, probably about 6-7 miles of driving. So it's at 65% ethanol content. The fuel economy is 16.2. You see my best is 24.9 when I was driving to San Diego, but I was driving like an old lady. But I think it'll improve in gas mileage, if not equal. So let's hope for the best. So far, it idles really well. I mean, I have no issues on the idle. Like I said, it's been some time since I've driven this car, so performance I won't be able to compare because it's such a long time. But hopefully I could beat that 16.2 average gas mileage in it. It's up to my wife how she drives, her driving habits, but we'll see. So I think it's a success for the EFLEX. Hopefully you think about purchasing it, especially if you live here in California. It would help you quite a bit. It'll pay for itself in a 10 tankfuls if you have a big SUV. So thank you very much for your time, and God bless.